an empowered woman, an empowered man, an empowered they, an empowered person is a person who knows their self first and loves themselves first. And therefore, you in 2024 know something like this. Sadhguru. In the stillness of the mind, intelligence can blossom beyond human limitations. So, one, human, we're not limited in any way, shape, or form when you come on over to HP because we have the inner growth mindset, which allows you to do personal development and self help with those thoughts and those feelings. So, you're emotionally aware, mentally aware, emotionally accountable, mentally accountable, and you're emotionally self regulating and mentally self regulating. So, that means that you want to do enlightenment soul age group work and move into the humanity of you. Again, Sadhguru, if you overflow with humanity, divinity descends. I'm a 5D mystic in the enlightenment soul age group and a functional adult. Divinity is not, don't think of the word God, please. We want to respect those who are going to stay in 3D, 4D land, 5D land here, Christ consciousness. Because Jesus is the one who taught me and many how to be a restorative embodiment. Forgive them, for they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Turn that other cheek. What is all of this? It's called a pacha. So 0 1 year old right here, it's integration of the brain. So intelligence is what? There's mental and emotional, and there's like 7 of them. But we focus on personal development. So mental and emotional intelligence and the physical mastery, you being yourself always, not just sometimes. The authentic self of you is a whole 3-year-old heart. And here's why today's episode is really special. We're going to use a story from a friend of mine who is borderline personality, and his story is very interesting and it is very touching and it is very beautiful to see a person who is healing completely have the word forgiveness because they know the past never comes back and because they have no self-loathing because they have a good therapist. I hope it's a good therapist. I think it is. And in the meantime, they're on a good journey. So they don't have an issue with their inner child. They don't have an issue with what their diagnosis is. They also know that they're healable and that they're not broken. Okay, so humans are not limited, except for when we find the evil, ignorant people who are spreading rumors like yoga brings demons out of you versus knowing about Peter Levine and how trauma stored in bones, muscles, tissues, and how trauma also in the brain. And so, like Patrick McNamara, lovely neuroscientist, he explains no demonic possession when a person is having nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. What his studies are showing is that the religious self, you decentralize to expand. If it goes well, you're going to expand. If it doesn't go well, then you're going to turn and be on an Elsa journey consistently, which is why we know of rumors the yoga brings demons is because people do yoga without knowing about Peter Levine or about trauma, and the yoga people don't get attachment and trauma informed, so there's holistic practitioners who do things like this. Don't go to therapy, come to do the shamanic ritual. No, a good holistic practitioner. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a life coach. I'm a meditation, or which one I forget the title that's going to be once I'm done with all these other lovely, beautiful courses to add to the toolkit besides Akashic record readings and tarot. Again, Reiki is amazing, but these don't heal one, your inner child stuff. No, they can clear and they support. You are the one who works with the awareness because the maladaptive child behavior when you have emotional triggers, moods, and when you have stuff going on in here, you need to be aware of it and want to work with yourself to be in that spirituality of you, living a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. But let's remember that childhood trauma and trauma overall is intimate. So, first, the intimacy here, and a lot of people don't know their self because for secure attachment, there's a whole bunch of things I can say. But then we have the ones who are not securely attached, who don't get attachment trauma informed. We got holistic practitioners who don't get attachment trauma informed. And we have people with personality disorders that don't get informed. And then there are those of us who want to inform. And then there are those who are informed. Okay, so with all this being said, nobody here at IHP is going to be a mantle of mental health, a mantle of yoga, or a mantle of spirituality. No, we have science and spirituality go together. Yoga, it's a ventral vagal portfolio of nervous system exercises, something like that. Stephen Porges, thank you. Come on in. And he's the polyvagal theory doctor, and he's still working on his research. So there you go. And that's why people say it's not true. Freud is more truer than, yeah, okay, whatever. Ancient people, go, go, go. Be with the ancients, okay? And so With that being said, when you meet people of all, you are always welcoming. They can have borderline personality traits, they can have narcissistic traits. We're not going to be, hey, let me tell you what you are. That's for martyr superiors. That's the mantles people. They're the ones who haven't even bothered looking at who they are, because if they had, they wouldn't be using words like that. They would be having what are human to human conversations, because that's what a pacha, a person who does know their self, humanity, it overflows, divinity descends. It's called integration of the brain. I'm in my left and my right together. My default mode network is downregulated. I, Maria, your host, doesn't have trauma charges lingering. I'm present. I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving. And when I want to be, I can have a sense of humor. And as I'm attuning to you, I'm going to learn to differentiate, as Daniel Siegel reminded me when I asked him about how to handle when I'm around certain nervous systems. And he says, I think you need to differentiate more and keep differentiating and remembering, is that my nervous system? Hey, are you good? Yeah, okay. I don't know if they're saying the truth, but you know what? Recalibrate, because I was fine 2 seconds ago. And you resonate because you don't ask questions too much when somebody just says, no, no. And you don't call it stonewalling. You don't say, you're stonewalling me. You know that? That's not how you're going to expand trust and expand consciousness. Plus, some people want to stay Cuscos in their life. Okay, so the people who want to stay human suffering love narrative, we already know they got a Zen master telling them that laundry comes into their body and that they cannot ever be out of it. And some of us, we don't have laundry. It's called, we don't need to let go of emotions. They're always here, the basic six and more. Okay, so with that being said, again, no empowered woman will be confused by her emotions, nor will we project them. Nor will we be confused by our triggers, nor will we project them. We'll say, we're so sorry about the triggers, and then we'll say about the emotions, hey, this is how I feel. The thoughts, this is how I think. Okay, so this is who I am. 5D Mystic again, Enlightenment Soul Age Group right here, and polyamory. Come on over for securely attached polyamory stories so that you can learn a difference. And that's so that you can decide, one, are you embodying it because you are going to consistently love more than one person in a non-conventional friendship way, or are you testing it out? And in either cases, you want to be aware of how are you? Are you attached securely or not? Are you a healthy self-worth person? Because it's the minute that you are presented with the equation of how do I talk to you about others, and how do I let you know that you're one of a kind, even if there are others, and so on and so forth. And here's where some people, they are still insecure teenagers. And that means that they didn't grow their self-esteem. So when I was a teenager, I chose. And I'm like, you know what? My worth isn't based on what you do with yourself and if you lie to me or not. It's based on me. And really, that word worth doesn't mean anything to me because you're worthy always. You're a human who lives. And that's about it. I'm going to be humble. I was taught humbleness by God. I was taught to forgive by Jesus and to not cast stones. And I learned how not to. No human is inherently good or evil. Thank you to the academics. I can also share. Smart people talk about this stuff. The ones who are not, they talk about yoga bringing demons out of you because they didn't get educated, or, excuse me, they don't believe in attachment and trauma educational courses and material. They believe in the ancient Freudian alone, and that's about it. So you can stay around and keep learning or leave. But also, we're creating a community here of people who want to support each other to be more of the inner human child that you are as a grown up, okay? Because it's really fun. Okay, so again, an empowered woman, we're not confused about what it takes to build a relationship, or all relationships for that matter, which every relationship is a relationship. What I'm saying is conscious lovers, romance, that requires you to walk a walk and talk a talk and be a person, which means you need to know yourself, which means you want to get to know Dr. Daniel Fox for the personality disorders. He humanizes it all and gives proactive tips on everything. And there's a lot of people that have shared, thanks to you, I know that I'm not fucked up and that there's a way for me to heal. It's so awesome to see you. Thank you so much for all you do. And that's great for him to be there and for him to be there for us too. Patrick Tiahan for childhood trauma survivors. Okay, so with that being said, let's move into integration of the brain, Dr. Daniel Siegel, and I do the inner growth mindset. So I'm integrated right here, and I'm going to meet you. I'm going to enjoy time. I'm not going to read your mind, even if I'm a 5D mystic, because I'm not a martyr superior. I'm not a codependent human being. I'm not going to be getting angry. I don't need to correct you. It's your business what you want to do, 3-year-old teenager. Okay, we're going to use Patrick Tiahan for a minute. His lovely little meme on codependency types. Okay, so he has the middle. These are all people with low self-esteem. They're passive aggressive. They manipulate in a specific way, and that's with indirect communication, as well as controlling sometimes, and the boundary problems. And that's because they don't know healthy boundaries. And so we have the martyrs superior, who they take over. They are self important. They need to suggest and push their way always. They're like, pushy, pushy, pushy. They want to change others. Then we got the caretakers, and those are people pleasers. They have self blame. Oh, I'm so bad. Why me? Always me. I did it wrong. I focus too much on other people. I'm so nice. Focus on others. Need to be needed. In fact, they're like, oh, but I know you need me. Come on. I'm going to take care of you, and then lets it go, and they do it all over again. Okay. So when a person doesn't move to their healthy self worth boundaries, they keep on using these emotional, and that's where they can take ownership of it. But the indirect communication is what they will do. You know, I'm always available for everyone, but everybody always leaves me alone because you know how people are. They're selfish. So I'm just learning how to be all alone. And then you see them also, by the way, hanging out with the very same manipulative, desperate, low self esteem people, which is why then there's drama in those situations because they're all alone wanting to try and find groups, and then they all don't know how to just say what is, and then so we leave that alone. Again, the human suffering love narrative group, we thank them for being a part of our group and not making it too big of a deal that we do emotions and thoughts, and we don't make it too big of a deal that they don't. We just know that the cowardice is leaving the inner child in there. And so I learn and continue to learn physical mastery as a feminine who can see the infinite potential in every masculine out there. But I have my own masculine. I know where it stops, which is I'm not your caretaker and I'm not your changer, because that's, again, the martyr superior is the changer, and the caretaker is the one who is the self blamer. And I'm not like, oh, I give my time to everyone. They don't give my time. Yeah. Okay, so we don't do that, and we don't do, oh, I'm such a bad person for not having time to do stuff I don't want to do. We grow up, right? Does anybody not know? So some people, again, they stay in a very different arena. Moving forward with our conversation, the story that I want to share. So when we have secure attachment, self-empowered women, here's how we would handle. I'm going to give you a scenario, and this is based on your lovely host right now opinion and how I would handle something like this. And I'm attachment trauma informed, but even before attachment trauma, what I can tell you is I still would have committed to this thing. Okay, so I am a person who grew up with Jesus and God, and I still love. I just call God the essence of love and life, and Akash words that I know that I'm more allowed to, in an effort to respect, again, other groups. That's how I choose to share this with you, because I know there are those who say, you call it whatever you want. I'm not going to do it that way, because I understand when I'm meeting someone that they might be sensitive, if you will, and I want to create a conversation. Like last night, great conversation about me, mysticism, and a person who is part of my community. And they asked, well, you're technically not a practicing one then, right? And so I'm going to leave alone the titles just because of, again, not wanting to create and diverge and go back to the scenario. But I was raised with, till sickness and in health, death was part, all that stuff, which I don't see people really doing from here, that they know how to do it from the external, yes, and that once they get a good therapist like Terry Real, that they can completely empower each other, yes, totally. But I'm talking from a space of secure attachment, empowered woman, knowing what I want, already, ready to go. I'm being myself. This is where my 3-year-old's right here. She's all over it. Okay, so there's no changing my mind. I know what I want. I'm gonna go get it. I'm moving forward. Okay. So, with being taught what it is to create relationships, it's consistent, contingent communication. It's I'm going to consistently show up. Pacha. Not hard to do, not even a little bit. In fact, when I hear people saying love is hard, oh, you're going to be afraid of hurting. No, none of that. You definitely will know that people don't know how to commit because of a lot of unfinished business. Okay, so here's the difference for an emotionally mature and mentally mature person. What we see, everybody seems to not know how to stick to the walk a walk and talk a talk, which is why the bullshit words, till sickness and in health, that, yeah, sure, show me, cry me a river, whatever it is. I have seen consistently men go into the arms of the unhealthy self worth unfinished business, though. So they do what their actual 0, 1 to 8 year old to 16, they will repeat and stay on this, what is a broken record in the book of an expanding piece of consciousness, because they are fixed in having that. This is the whole side note. I just got philosophical on you. We'll talk about that one in another episode. But to conclude, I'm presented with the equation. Okay, we're gonna get married, right? I got a ring, and we've been together for 5 years, and all of a sudden you come to me and let me know that you have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and you have had a series of, I'm gonna say, moods and a lot of things that got pretty scary, pretty intense. Okay, so we had some moments that were like, wow. Okay, so I'm presenting again a different scenario to then the story that is nothing to do with me. But I, Maria, can know, and some people say, no, you don't. No, I do know. I know me. So when you know yourself, this is the part. And people who get to know Dr. Daniel Fox, he explains to them borderline personality as well as narcissism in a way that they can say, wow, I'm human. Thank you so much. Now I know what's going on with me. Everything you've said matches to a T. My gosh, this is such a relief, because I thought that shit was wrong with me, because that's what an uninformed person with a personality disorder like DID will feel, that there's something wrong with them until they meet the psychoeducational people, which thank goodness they're there. Okay, so we want to, one, be supportive of people. Here at IHP, we support all people, not just some people. This is the whole point. Nobody is possessed by any demon. 5D mystic here again. Enlightenment soul age group, but furthermore, attachment and trauma informed from all these great people who are doing, they're not only doing research, they're also therapists, they're also writing books. Okay, so they're in the field, they're consistently doing their job because they care about people like I do too. Okay, so with that being said, like I repeat, I'm presented this equation. I'm going to say, okay, we're going to get through it. We're going to keep moving forward. That would be my complete way of handling someone coming to me. Actually, not someone, my fiance, after 5 years. I'm not going to ditch you because of getting, no, I'm actually, the other part is, if you get scared and it's okay, we need to go check out something, because this is, if you are open to it. If you're not, then that's another story. And if we're just on a dating thing, then I'm not going to continue dating. That's actually another part. But that's because there are people that don't take ownership. Okay, so if you're taking ownership of you, and let's say we're getting to know each other, you're going to be aware of your triggers. A person who wants to create a relationship gets to know themselves first in one way, shape, or form, and presents to you what to expect. So I'm just going to leave that one. Again, 44 years of age. So if you're younger, to me, a younger person is going to be potentially less informed. We want to help people to be more informed, okay, and what to look out for, but not to create stigma. So what I see is the mantles of mental health, the mantles of yoga, the mantles of spirituality people, they talk bad about narcissists, for example. They don't say get a good therapist to understand what's going on. There's room for them to heal. No, they just tell you about not taking crap. Yeah, nobody's going to take crap. If you're smart enough, you don't take crap from anyone. You also, if you're smart enough, don't insult a person. So smart, to me, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. You know you're a person. They're a person. Pacha again. So using these words, never ever have I thought of, let me use a word against a person because they're doing something. No, I'm going to talk to you about what you're doing, and then we're going to see if we can figure it out. And if you don't know yourself, that's something I can't know for you, nor will I be diagnosing you. Those are the martyrs. Let me tell you who you are. No, I'm going to either enjoy you and work with you and get those healthy boundaries, and that's it. And then you do whatever you want to do. So the story goes like this. On the contrary of what I shared with you, which is that I would stick it through, get married, continue the journey, I get to meet this lovely person, and he's borderline personality, and he shares with me his story. And he shares how his fiancée dumped him once this diagnosis came about. And as he's telling me the story, he's saying, no, but I understand because I got really scary, and, you know, it's okay. I totally get it. But then he goes on to share with me how she comes back around once he's successful again, he's getting better, he's healing and all this, and she now wants to marry him and wants to have babies, and he is not interested. But the way he's telling it to me, it's not because he's holding a grudge, because you can tell from the tone, because that's what we all are. We're all a tone. Your ventral vagal nervous system is engaged when you're at peace with who you are, because that's when you're seeing yourself, you're soothing yourself, you're safe and secure in your nervous system. So he's secure with himself, with his diagnosis. He's humanized it. He knows what he can do to help himself, to bring forth his relationships. He knows how to continue expanding, and that's most amazing. And when he tells me that she comes back around, I was like, wow, that's really nice of you. And he's not saying she's right or wrong. There's not none of that side, because sometimes you'll see people who say, no, no, there's groups, people who justify, and then there's people who get angry. And those are both not boundary people. They're love dependence and the love avoidance is what I'm going to put them in, even though they're not in those categories, but they're basically people who are not yet flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, and stable completely. So they're not in their full Jacob personality. The Jacob personality is the one who can be objective. And that's where inner growth mindset, the advanced place, is neutrality and duality. So it's when you have an indifferent way of feeling, not because you're emotionless. It's called emotional maturity, and you have an indifferent way of thinking. It's my thoughts and feelings are mine. I'm a differentiated self. I link to you. You're a differentiated self, and we create a we. But in my prefrontal cortex is where I'm at. So I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving. No implicit bias, no assumptions, societal, political. I'm not putting my Maria opinion in there, my emotional. No, I'm able to be a blank, quote unquote, slate, because I'm listening to another state of self, another person, a differentiated self, tell me their story. And that's why they will feel seen, they will feel felt, they will feel soothed, they will feel expanded. And that's where those 5D relationships are at. So when people are healing and they are their inner child adult, whatever their diagnosis, doesn't matter. They're working with their triggers, they're working with their emotions, they're working with their moods, they're working with their pathology. Again, it's able to be healed because it's able to be understood. That's what the studies are finding. The psychopath is the only one, and I'm talking about the antisocial personality clusters, and I don't know where borderline fits. Not the other groups, even though the other groups, when they're with a good therapist, they will also find a way to coexist and to talk about what is happening and to want to move into being able to have relationships. So nobody is saying you have to adhere to what my needs are. Let's be clear. And I remember in one of my classes, Dr. Daniel Siegel, because I take classes with Mindsight Institute with him, and I got the honor to ask some questions and interact with the classmates and all that. So some of them ask questions for the clusters that are, I forget again, the organized DSM thing, but there's ones that need medication, and they were asking a question about why, if you will. And here's where Daniel was saying we're still doing so much studies, so we're still looking into it, and what we want is for people to find inner well-being, and rigidity and chaos is not supportive of that. So the medication, you find the best way to support them as they get to go through. So again, therapists have a lot of different ways they can talk about something. People who care about their inner well-being will find people who talk to them about, good therapists. So for childhood trauma, you want EMDR, child parts work, and somatics. For any of the personality disorders, you want somebody like Dr. Daniel Fox and Dr. Daniel Siegel even, and also Ruth Lanius. Ruth Lanius, yes, and Bethany, I forget her last name, but they do a great job for training other therapists. I took the course as a consultant content creator. It's still very important for me to stay updated, just because that way I can look for signs and then reach out and have a network and support people. Also, when you have relationships, the best way for you to support your relationships is by being informed, and that's because we care, not because we want to diagnose people. There are people who study people. They're like, I'm going to study people. I'm going to write down notes. What is this, a scientific experiment? So when people are dehumanized, it's because a person doesn't trust people, by the way. That's another trait of those who don't heal their own inner child and say, wait, but I want relationships intimately, not like a left mode. And long story short, though, there's plenty of those mantles of mental health, mantles of yoga, mantles of spirituality. They support the Human Suffering Love Group narrative. And we're going to be here for the Human Love Group narrative because we all can be that inner child. It's an integrated brain. And again, we can support each other because nothing is scary when you learn about it. Education empowers. And we want to destigmatize with the movies instead. And so do docuseries continue to instead make it seem that people who have the antisocial personality are evil somehow and never healable. It's not true. It's not true. And the same thing goes, I mean, unless you want to be a flat earther, that's how I'm going to put it. Okay, so I'm okay with woo woo pseudoscience because I learn and I'm a third party, if you will, sharing information. And then we're talking and we're creating stories and we're creating relationships. And we know, though, where the data comes from. Okay, and I'm not going to go with the conspiracy stuff. That's for people who, again, 4D, 3D do other stuff. So if you want to keep joining, please be welcome. We support all people with love, kindness, compassion, integration of the brain. It's your mammalian heritage. It's mine. Restorative embodiment, education empowers. And so we're not always, by the way, going to get it right. I can fuck up data, but I don't foresee in any way, shape, or form having any of those people here. And if ever I do, I'll be like, look, are you looking for a dictionary? Because there are plenty out there. That's not here. Voices, stories, perspectives. It's grown-up land. The people who are linear, they're the only ones who come around in certain ways, and that's because they're seeking for a Peter Pan. Okay, so Peter Pan tells the Lost Boys what to do, and the Lost Boys follow. We're following the lead, or the lead. Yeah, I'm not looking for Lost Boys and Lost Girls. We're here to be ourselves, and then to be ourselves in relationships, and to support people who are being their self, and then to support also those who are moving out of what is their trauma, and they need healthy self-worth. People who won't be manipulating in any way, shape, or form anything, and you don't throw shit in their face when they have one of their moods or emotional triggers. You don't do it's because you have the capacity, which is where you know you. I know me. So I'm a securely attached, differentiated self. I have an open heart always, not just sometimes, because unless you have a weapon in your hand, you're not going to be scary. And I'm not going to run away, and I'm not going to get in my sympathetic, and I'm not going to react, if you will. I'll know how to talk. And when people are healing, again, they know how to tell you what to expect and da 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 da. And so that's a whole beautiful journey for people to support each other and have a healthy network, friends, partners, family, all of it. So tune in for more and like, subscribe, share, and thank you for stopping by.